We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that's...
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
Ahoy, mateys. Welcome aboard the American International Podcast. I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And now it's time to hoist the Jolly Roger as we set sail with Queen of the Seas from 1964.
Queen of the Seas was directed by Umberto Lenzi from a screenplay by Ugo Guerra, Luciano Martino, and Ernesto Gastaldi. It was produced by Fortunato Misiano for Romana Film.
Queen of the Seas stars Lisa Gastoni as Mary Reed, Jerome Courtland as Peter Goodwin, Walter Barnes as Captain Poof, Agostino Salvietti as Mangiatrippa, Mary's uncle, Germano Longo as Ivan, Gianni Solaro as the governor of Florida.
It also stars Tullio Altamura as Don Pedro Alvarez, Gisella Arden as the French dancer, Dina De Santis as Peter's lover, Ignacio Balsama as captain of the guards, Anna Arena as the lady in the diligence, Giulio Battaferri as prison guard, Eduardo Toniolo as Lord Goodwin, Piero Pastore as master of protocol, Laura Schizzi as the director of the prison, and Bruno Scipioni as Lord Stewart.
Queen of the Seas opens not on the sea, but on a dirt road on which a horse-drawn carriage is traveling.
Well, before that, a title card informs us that we are in England at the end of the 17th century. A stagecoach stops at a way station, a place where weary travelers can eat, drink, and mingle. One traveler ostentatiously fingers her flashy jewelry. A young woman, Mary Reed, at another table, notices. She nods at her uncle, and she sidles up to another male traveler. She gets his attention, nods again, this time at a nearby barn, and he follows her in there in hopes of a tumble in the hay.
But almost immediately upon entering, we see someone exiting. It's Mary having donned the man's clothes and wigs, and we go into the barn to see that the man has been left securely tied up, his clothes and wig missing.
He's wearing her pantaloons.
Outside, the coach is ready to pull out, so the passengers climb aboard, including that wealthy woman with the jewelry, Mary still dressed as a man, and her uncle. Mary takes a seat next to the wealthy woman, and her uncle sits across from them, pretending to go to sleep. When the coach hits a bump, Mary flings herself onto the wealthy woman, then apologizes for her clumsiness. The woman says that's all right, and Uncle Mangiatrippa peeks out from his closed eyes. Now that Mary has made physical contact with this woman, she lets her hand wander over hers. The woman, thinking that Mary is a young man, does not dissuade her, and Mary runs her hand up and down the woman's arm, and she brushes over the woman's jewelry and palms it.
Her uncle smiles in approval. Then they hear a shout from outside the carriage, and the coach comes to a stop. A member of the king's army puts his head in the window. He asks if everything's all right, and the woman says they're fine. They were minding their own business. The soldier says that it's better to be stopped by them than by highway robbers. They're all over the road here, he says. What robbers, she asks. I've always traveled this way without being robbed of so much as a pin, she says.
Oh, where's your pin now? Asks the patrolman. The woman realizes that her pin is gone, and so are her earrings. She looks to the man, who is actually Mary, on her left, and she knows it has to be him. Mary jumps from the coach and tries to make a break for it, but she's easily captured. They grabbed her uncle too, but he's feigning innocence.
Now that she's been nabbed, she takes the jewels back to the lady and apologizes. One of the soldiers tells her that some time in a London prison will weaken her appetite for jokes. Malad. They try to arrest her uncle as her accomplice, but she says, that old fool, why don't you arrest everyone here to keep me company? So they let him off.
Put this rogue in irons, demands the patrolman. Then they drag Mary, who they still believe is a young man, off to jail as Uncle Mangiatrippa climbs back aboard the coach, complaining of the insults he's received. So Mary is brought to jail and placed in an already occupied cell. Mary's new cellmate greets her with a hello. He asks her name, assuming as everyone else that she's actually a young man, and she replies Marion.
He says he's called Peter, and asks how such a fine gentleman, for she's still wearing her fancy get-up, hat included, ended up here in prison. Marion confesses to being a thief. You, asks Peter? Marion says there's an art to it, handed down from father to son. Peter thinks that there's something about Marion that's different. Could it be her bosom, which is plainly visible? Peter says that Marion is not the average young gentleman that Peter sees here in the prison.
Mary thanks him, then asks if Peter has been rotting in this cell for long. No, Peter replies, not long. He says he didn't get along that well on the outside, but then again he didn't have the position that Marion seems to have had. Mary sits down on one of the bunks. Tired? asks Peter. Mm-hmm, replies Mary, but then she changes the subject. She wants to know what they're going to do about tomorrow. What would you like to do? asks Peter. But she's talking about getting out of there. Well, it's not really up to us, is it? says Peter.
Peter brings out a pitcher and says that if Marion would like to scrub up, this is all His Majesty allows us. Then he pours a considerable amount of the water on the floor. Pure Thames water, he calls it. He asks, why not take her jacket off? No, she gulps. She'll just go to sleep now. Good night. And she lays down to go to sleep.
Later that night, Mary does decide to scrub up a bit. She's washing herself while Peter is sleeping. She looks over to make sure he's asleep, and he appears to be, so she continues.
Right now, she's not naked, but she's just covering her breasts. And it's pretty obvious that this is not a man.
Well, she also took her wig off.
That's true. She put her other one back on.
Peter wakes up and sees her undressed and wig off, bathing across the cell. He smiles in surprise and good fortune.
The next day, the bell rings for breakfast in the courtyard. Mary asks what the food is like here. Peter says you can hardly call it food. Then he starts aggressively hitting on her. He grabs her, praises her beautiful hands and delicate face.
He says he must drive the women out of their minds. Women are my weakness, says Mary. Oh, me too, says Peter. Their shoulders, rounded like velvet, beautiful shapely legs.
Leading to something softer. Now that's quite enough, Mary says, running away. He chases her and pins her against the wall, still praising her body. He says, I'm talking about women because I want to talk about you. She asks when he figured it out. Last night, he says dimly.
Only when it was obvious.
Yeah, you really got to spell it out for this guy.
He says he just wants to know about her since they may be spending the rest of their lives together in the cell. He asks her a real name. Mary Reed, she replies. The female brigand? Peter asks. You steal not only jewels, but hearts as well.
He grabs her, but she shakes him off. Leave me alone, she shouts. Or what, you'll scream, he asks. Then they'll know who you are. I can take care of myself, she promises, gut punching him when he gets too grabby again.
He tries to grab her once more, and she throws him off her, grabbing a medallion from around Peter's neck as she does so. She holds it up, displaying her prize. Ha! That's good! You'll have to teach me that sometime, says Peter. Mary reads the inscription on the medallion. From Lord Goodwin to his beloved son. She asks where he got it. Peter says he got it at the Lord's palace, and that's where they nabbed him. Mary is surprised that he would still be carrying it around. She explains that the smart thing to do when caught is to give everything back, especially if there's a lord involved. It might help lead to a later sentence.
Peter says he doesn't ask anyone for favors, and then a guard comes to escort them outside for breakfast. When they get out there, they find that it's a bowl full of white lumps.
It's called gruel.
I didn't know it was so white. I thought it'd be more oatmeal colored. I've seen Oliver Twist. As they eat, they hear an announcement that the warden is coming. The guard smacks Mary's bowl out of her hands because the warden hates the smell of the food that he gives his prisoners.
Then the warden comes through, complaining that the stench is like that of a rotten corpse. Then he tells the guard to select 3 of these men, have them washed and sent to him. Then as the warden leaves, the guard selects 2 men for this task, and the third is Mary. Peter stops her from going, though, explaining that he'll go instead. She'd have to strip naked and wash in front of the jailer. Thanks, says Mary.
Later, in her cell, she's trying to pull a chain off the wall when Peter returns. He's been shoveling horse manure in the stables. Mary rushes to him to give him a peck on the cheek, and then they start kissing in earnest.
Oh, I'll clean stables every day, he says. Later, the prison guard comes by to retrieve Peter. He's been summoned to the warden's office. In the warden's office, some noblemen have come by because they've heard that the son of Lord Goodwin has been imprisoned there. The warden believes it's just someone trying to fool them by using a false "do you know who my father is" card. And the men tell the warden to bring the men in and they can verify whether he's legit. When Peter is brought in, the warden says, "You see? Would the son of a lord have a face like this?" But Peter and the men recognize each other right away, and the warden is forced to become sheepishly quiet.
It's quite a happy reunion. The noblemen talk about Peter's scandal. He's a thief, after all. But it's just good-natured ribbing. Peter says that they could have given him one more night in jail. When they're surprised, Peter says that His Majesty's prisons are a dream, and the warden thanks him for the compliment.
Then Peter addresses the warden directly. "Give me a cigar," he says. "Right away, sir," says the warden. Peter takes the cigar and sits in the warden's chair as the warden fawns over him, trying to make up for his blunder. One of the noblemen asks Peter how he came to be in this jail. Peter says he was visiting a maiden and was mistaken for a thief. The warden apologizes, and Peter says it's all very well. Today he cleaned the warden's stables, so tomorrow the warden can come and clean Peter's. And the warden agrees that this is a more than fair arrangement.
His friend asks Peter if he's coming with them, or does he want to enjoy more of His Majesty's hospitality. Peter wants to return to his cell for a moment. When he gets back to his cell, he and Mary embrace, and Peter says that he's being transferred to another prison, as Lord Goodwin remembered him. Mary advises him to give back the medallion, that he wants her to have it to remind her of him. One more embrace, and then he departs.
A little while later, Mary is plotting her escape. She chains the door to the bars on the window. She calls out, "Warden! Ah, warden! I'm being murdered!"
Yeah, but...
The guards try to open the door, but it's stuck. They pull harder, and the door finally opens, pulling the bars from the window, and the guards enter just in time to see Mary escape through the window. She runs across the roof and dives off the roof into the water to swim to freedom.
Later, dressed as a woman, she turns up at Lord Goodwin's manor with the medallion. She tries the front entrance, but the guards won't let her in. She flashes the medallion and says that she will only give it to the Lord himself when they try to snatch it from her.
Recognizing the medallion, the guards ask where she got it, and she says she got it from the one who stole it, and she'll tell everything to his lordship when she sees him. So one of the guards brings her in and tells her not to touch anything, or she'll get a taste of the whip. He leaves, and she immediately starts fingering items lying about, but she stops when she hears voices and laughter coming from the next room.
She hears Peter braying about being in prison with a lady thief. He guffaws about how she probably thinks that he's still locked up there.
Mary goes into the next room and finds Peter entertaining a room full of women. If they catch on to her, she'll never get out, Peter laughs.
She could be in prison for 3 to 4 years if no one recognizes her. Mary pushes through the crowd of ladies and confronts Peter. She slaps him twice, tosses him the medallion, and leaves.
I guess I was mistaken, laughs Peter. Evidently, she got out sooner. Now Mary is in the town square, and she witnesses her uncle pretending to be blind so he can reach out with his hands, making it easier to grab stuff unnoticed. She watches him for a while, and then pretends to catch him in the act of stealing. He begs for forgiveness, and she tells him to open his eyes. Her uncle is glad to see her, but not all that surprised. He knew that no cell would be able to hold her for more than a couple of days.
He tells her that it's not safe here. Mary tells her uncle that she wants to go away, somewhere far from lords and sons of lords and other human trash. Her uncle recommends that they attend a celebration for the returning Captain Poof, and I guess he gives her the dress that we watched him steal, because she's wearing it in the next scene. Now we're at a tavern with a lot of rogues and ruffians, and a woman dancing on the table.
She's dancing with a jug while a room full of people cheer her on. Captain Poof is here, enjoying the performance.
She dances like Elaine on Seinfeld.
The dancer finishes, and Mary and her uncle enter, pausing at the door. Captain Poof steps up to greet them. Who is this, the king's daughter? Asks Captain Poof. She's more than a princess, says Uncle Mangiatrippa. She's his niece and pupil. Captain Poof invites them into the party, but when he turns around, Mary pulls on a pistol and shoots the hat off the captain's head. Mary blows smoke from the barrel of the gun and hands it over to her uncle, reminding Poof that it's good manners to remove his hat when addressing a lady. The captain apologizes, and then they all take a seat together at a table.
Mary wants to talk to Captain Poof about joining his ship. He thinks it's a wonderful idea, even after Mary announces that she means as a seaman, but he's less than thrilled to hear that her weird uncle will be coming with them, until Uncle Mangiatrippa shoots off another man's hat without looking by firing the gun over his shoulder. And then everyone laughs. Captain Poof tells everyone to drink to the 2 new seamen of the Red Blood, the name of his ship. And then Mary's uncle guzzles more than his fair share of the wine, and that is not something that Captain Poof will happily tolerate. But then they all start laughing again.
The next day, Captain Poof is ready to set sail. He receives orders from His Majesty.
They're to sail along the coast of the Americas, and then down south of the equator.
And Captain Poof declares that when he has to steal, he will do so under England's name. Just then, Mary and her uncle arrive. Mangiatrippa is sent to the galley to cook, and the captain is going to show Mary his cabin.
Mary winks at her uncle and goes with Captain Poof. Inside his cabin, Captain Poof puts the moves on Mary. She tells him that this is her cabin now, but he's not listening. He's trying to maul her. She grabs a sword and pokes him with it, saying that she will obey him in ship matters only. So he orders her on deck.
Once on the deck, Captain Poof orders Mary to lower the topsail. Aye, aye, Captain, she says, climbing the mast in her high heels. She accomplishes the task and has proven her worth, and the men of the Red Blood cheer her on. Get back to work, says Captain Poof. More lively now. Mary climbs back down. Any further orders, Captain, she asks. No, says Captain Poof. May I go down to my cabin and get my gear in order? Yes, says Captain Poof.
He chuckles as she goes. Later, the crew is singing an Italian sea shanty as Uncle Mangiatrippa lets Captain Poof taste his chowder. Poof goes below decks to see Mary in silhouette through the window of his cabin as she's getting dressed. He bursts in on her and finds that she's wearing a teddy in true fin de siècle style.
Mary, surprised to see him, falls back into the bed. You're mine, says the captain. This cabin is mine. This bunk is mine. Why shouldn't you be mine, he says. He jumps on her, but one of his men comes in to report another vessel has been spotted on the horizon. We'll continue this another time, says Captain Poof to Mary.
He goes up to the deck where they're already being fired upon. The crew are returning fire. Mary, now dressed, appears on deck to ask for orders. Captain Poof commands her back to the cabin, but she says she can take care of herself. Then the other ship's crew boards the Red Blood, and there's hand-to-hand combat.
During the sword fights, Captain Poof is killed, and the Spanish captain demands that they surrender the ship. Having taken the Red Blood, the Spanish captain tells his men to place the prisoners in the hold of this ship. Mary is brought before him, and he's a little surprised to see someone like her aboard. Is this the gallantry that a Spaniard shows a lady, she asks.
A Spanish seaman spits at the idea that she might be a lady. Uncle Mangiatrippa tries to defend her honor, but someone waves a sword at him. As Mary's uncle and the men are taken to the hold, the Spanish captain offers Mary a place in his cabin, and she accepts. And he tells his men to repair the damage on the other ship, and not to disturb him as he leads Mary to his cabin.
Once down in his cabin, Mary takes a seat on his bed. The captain asks her name, sitting next to her, and tells her she's beautiful, with eyes more blue than the Spanish Main. He tells her he's dreamed about her. As the captain reaches for her, Mary grabs a bottle from the floor and smacks him over the head with it. She tells him to keep dreaming, then sneaks back to where her fellow seamen are being held. She gives them the key she got from the captain, and they all work together to take back the ship.
She conks another guard on his helmet, knocking him out. She orders the men to pick off the other pirates en masse. If they do it all at once, the Spaniards won't have time to know what hit them. In the next scene, we see the Spanish flag floating in the water. The Spanish sailors are lined up on the edge of their ship. Two of the English crew pull a rope taut behind them, sending all the seamen into the drink.
The crew of the Red Blood cheer Mary Reed. Mary announces she's taking control of this vessel and says that they'll be working to enrich themselves rather than England. From this day forward, she'll be known as Captain Poof. This will give her the anonymity to move about freely. Hooray for Captain Poof! Uncle Mangiatrippa shouts out, and the seamen join in the cheers.
Hooray! Back in England, things are much duller. Peter Goodwin is dancing at the ball his father is throwing. As he does the minuet, he's doing a full court press on one of the ladies he's dancing with. He contrives to get her into his drawing room, just as the Lady Elizabeth arrives to the mocking strains of the muted trumpet. You see, she's homely. Two other ladies of the court snipe at the latest victim of Peter's charm offensive. He didn't have to work very hard to get her alone. Tee-hee.
Peter and the woman are still giggling off to the side, and Peter suggests they retire to the drawing room. It's more private, and they can rest for a while. She says she should probably say no, but then Peter pulls her into the drawing room. She says it looks like a bedroom, and he says that what it looks like shouldn't matter. As Peter continues sweet-talking her, the camera pans over to a chair where Peter's father, Lord Goodwin, is sitting, sighing and tapping his fingers. Then he decides to make his presence known by saying, "Young lady, if I were in your place, I wouldn't believe a word of what he's saying."
"But Lord Goodwin, you could never be in my place," she says. Pure comedy.
Peter tells her they can pick this up later, and he sends the woman away.
His father says there won't be later for him. It's time for Peter to grow up. Peter scoffs at this, so his dad gives him 3 choices. 1, the military, which Peter's always been against. 2, the church, which makes Peter laugh. And 3, matrimony. Peter calls that the most tolerable of those 3 alternatives.
"Splendid," says Lord Goodwin. He's already picked someone out for Peter. She's a lady of impeccable taste and fortune. As you wish, father.
Lord Goodwin tells Peter that he will announce the engagement tonight. "Can I at least know the unlucky bride's name?" Peter asks.
Lord Goodwin claps his hands, and in walks Elizabeth with her wah-wah muted trumpet theme. "Oh, no," says Peter.
Lady Elizabeth has a dead tooth or something, but she looks okay otherwise. She's not a babe, but she's all right. In the next scene, we see that Peter has thought better of the first option his father gave him. He's now in some kind of boot camp in King William's army. Peter and his horse are being put through their paces as Lord Goodwin and Lady Elizabeth watch.
Along with her wah-wahs.
This poor woman.
Now we're back out at sea, and Captain Mary Poof is coming upon a ship, and she orders her men to hoist the pirate flag.
I thought that had a name, but maybe not.
On that other ship, which is an English ship, a woman comes onto the deck. "Pirates," she says. "How exciting. I hope they know what to do with a pretty young woman if they catch one."
The ship's captain tells her to go hide. Over on Mary's ship, Ivan the pirate balks at taking an English ship. Mary reminds him that they no longer have a pact with the English. One of the other pirates says to give the word and he'll cut through the ship like a knife, but Mary vetoes this. No bloodshed is needed.
One of the other seamen has no compunction about firing upon the British, so when Mary orders them to fire one cannonball at the mast above the ship's hold, the seaman eagerly complies. The English ship immediately raises the white flag.
Mary orders her crew to pull up alongside the other ship and board it. As they do, the captain tells Mary that she wasted her time. They have no precious cargo. Mary isn't convinced and tells her men to search the hold.
The woman who is excited by the thought of pirates is brought before Mary, and Mary asks what a girl like her is doing in a tub like this. The woman explains that she's a ballet dancer on her way to Florida to perform at a ball given by the Viceroy. Mary's men report there's nothing but cotton aboard the ship. "All that trouble for nothing," complains Uncle Mangiatrippa.
But there's also some luggage on there. Mary looks through the dancer's chest and finds some nice dresses.
"Is this becoming?" she asks, holding it up against her. The woman frowns.
She tells her men to take the woman onto her ship, along with her belongings, and to let the others go. Then she gives her men some really bad news. They're going to Florida.
The booty isn't coming after them, so they'll have to go after the booty.
How many times has that been said in Florida? And now we see a very cheap coat of arms. We're in the Viceroy's palace.
Someone announces they have a special treat, a dancer from the court of France. And Mary comes out wearing the dancer's dress and starts to perform. "Graceful," says the Viceroy. But then Mary's dance starts to get a little suggestive.
She starts losing pieces of clothing as she goes through her routine. One old biddy is scandalized and won't stop carping about it. Meanwhile, Mary's men are silently taking out some of the party guests.
By this time, Mary's arms and shoulders are visible, and Mangiatrippa enters, which is Mary's cue for stage 2 of the plan. She pulls out her pistol and points it at the viceroy, but he just laughs thinking it's a joke. But then her crew enter the room, and all the noblemen and women are liberated of their jewelry.
One of the guests is made to yell, "Long live Captain Poof," at gunpoint.
Then they head out with their ill-gotten booty.
There's so much booty in this movie. Back on their ship, Mary reads a wanted poster that says that there's a reward of 100 ounces of gold for their capture. She says they should make it double that. Pirate Ivan pledges their devotion to their captain, and Mary promises them that they'll have 9 lives with her.
Then Mary notices that her uncle has squeezed himself into an old breastplate. It doubles as a life preserver, he says. He's worried that for 100 ounces of gold, people will kill him before trying to verify whether or not he's actually Captain Poof. This moment of alleged comic relief passes, and Ivan asks Mary where she wants to set course. She tells him to go for the routes used by ships coming out of Europe.
Later, when Ivan and Mary are alone, he asks why she spends all her time staring out at the sea. Mary says she's remembering the person that she believed in and who did her dirty. Ivan tries to comfort her, and she fends off his advances with a maybe later.
Now we're back in England, and it's graduation day at Peter Godwin's military academy.
Aww.
He's given the rank of captain for having scored the highest points in his group. He will be assigned to a ship in 2 weeks' time with the mission of traveling to America to rid the colonies of the pirates in the area. He accepts the mission, then looks over to where his father and Lady Elizabeth are beaming at him, and Peter shudders. And now it's a few weeks later, and Peter's ship is at sea. His men report that they've spotted a ship on the starboard bow, and one of the men notes that the ship is sailing without a flag, so it must be one of the pirates. Peter says probably, but their mission is to report to New Bristol first. No sense in working before they have to.
So they're going to stay the course. On Mary's ship, she's peering through a telescope. She announces to her crew that the other ship is an English man of war and they could never take it. Her uncle wants to go back to Blighty to do some honest thieving, but Mary ignores him. She orders her men to fly the Portuguese flag. They're going to sail back to San Salvador, where they just came from, and hope that they don't get chased by the English.
In San Salvador, Mary's ship docks, and she goes back onto land, where a man is eating grapes and greeting her. "Welcome back, Captain Poof. We weren't expecting to see you so soon." She asks if anyone knows anything about a ship with 60 guns. The man says yes, and everyone is avoiding the area because of it. Mary says she wasn't informed about it, and she almost ran right into it. "Is she as big as they say?" he asks. Mary says yes, and with a ship that size, all of them together couldn't take her down.
The man lets slip that the captain of the ship is Peter Goodwin. Mary looks a little dazed at this news, but no one can see her face, so she's able to hide it.
Mary asks him to repeat that name. Peter Goodwin, he says. He's the son of a lord. Mary starts off, and the man asks where she's going. "New Bristol," Mary replies. "But they'll capture you," he says. But Mary's not worried. Even the biggest ship can't make a brave man out of a coward.
Later, Mary, Ivan, and her uncle stage a scene so that they can ambush a carriage. Mary's lying in the road and the carriage stops, and the people get out to check on her. While the man is checking on her, she pulls out a pistol.
"On your feet," she says, getting onto her own. Uncle Mangiatrippa and Ivan come out of hiding. As the passengers of the coach step out, Mary demands their names. The Count de Berry introduces himself and his ward, the Lady Duchamp. Mary asks the Count if he's on his way to the governor's feast, and when he says yes, she tells him and the others to take off their clothes. Then she asks if the governor knows him.
And now we're at the party. It appears that some of it's happening outside, like a tailgate, but we're going inside. Mary and her uncle are introduced under their assumed names. Mary makes a beeline for Peter, standing behind the governor. She glares at him. He recognizes her, kind of. After she walks off, he asks the governor who she is, and the governor doesn't know. Peter says that woman deserves a better companion, and he follows her, grabbing some drinks on the way. He asks her uncle to leave them alone so they can chat.
Peter still doesn't recognize her. Even when she says she may be a thief, he just laughs, saying that even he can tell a thief from a lady. He asks her if she might take a walk with him, but she says she's with Count de Berry, pointing to her uncle, who is laughing it up in a circle of women, so Peter convinces her to join him. Outside, Peter tells her that he has this feeling that he's known her for a long time. "You must have known many women," Mary says, laughing. Peter asks her name. "Mary," she replies. "But that's an English name," says Peter.
"Oh, you've already forgotten your routine," she says, mentioning his lines about slender ankles leading to shapely legs, rounded velvet shoulders, etc., etc. And it finally clicks for Peter, dumbass that he is. "You're the thief in the London jail. You stole my medallion."
Mary tells Peter he's come a long way from a seducer in an English jail to a steward on His Majesty's capital ship. And he says she's come a long way too, from a thief in London to a kept woman in the colonies. She rewards this comment with a slap.
He begs her forgiveness and tries to kiss her, but she doesn't want to. But she says she will give him a chance. She innocently asks what he's doing there. He says his father forced him into the Navy, and they sent him to the colonies to fight pirates. But he says the two of them can go back to England soon.
She asks if it's safe to travel with all the pirates about, and Peter says it's safe enough. The worst of them is Captain Poof, and he and the governor have already put together a plan to nab him. Mary is interested in hearing more, so Peter tells her of his plan to surprise, surround, and sink Captain Poof's ship.
He tells her that they're going to send out decoy ships to draw out Captain Poof's ship, and then his ship and the governor will come out from behind a cape where they're hiding to cannonball Captain Poof's ship.
That's a wonderful plan, says Mary. Now I know we'll be in London very soon. They kiss, and Mary grabs Peter's medallion. Mary says they better get back before they start a scandal. Peter asks when he can see her again, and she promises he'll see her very soon.
That night, Mary's men swim out to one of those decoy boats off the shore. They climb aboard where 2 sailors are currently betting that Captain Poof won't take their bait. Mary's men successfully take over the ship.
From the shore, Mary congratulates her men. She tells them to weigh anchor. They'll be giving the governor a big surprise.
And now it's the next day. On the governor's ship, their men are looking at the decoy ship, which is sending them a message via semaphore. The trap has been sprung successfully.
So the governor orders his crew to follow in the wake of the decoy ship over the pretense that they will be capturing Captain Poof. On the decoy ship, Mary and her crew continue at full sail. The idea here is that the man-of-war will assume that the ship in pursuit of the decoy ship is Captain Poof. One of the captured men eagerly volunteers that they were to give a signal, 3 cannon shots as they approach the cape. Mary tells her men to prepare that signal.
He wasn't so much eager to give the information as he was eager to not die with Mary. But yeah, he gave it up pretty easy.
He seemed happy to do it.
On the New England, Peter asks his second why Mary keeps stealing and returning his medallion. His second in command says that they're obviously in love, and that also he should be on high alert instead of ruminating on his love life. They hear a cannon firing, and Peter tells his men to get ready to fire on the ship following the decoy. After Mary has fired the signal shots, Peter has his men fire upon the governor's ship.
"Goodwin!" shouts the governor.
Mary's crew rejoices and then gets the heck out of there. Back at his mansion, the governor convenes a tribunal to tell Peter that he's a flaming idiot.
The governor asks Peter if he realizes that his mistake caused the death of 3 good seamen and put the governor's ship on a commission, and for that he should be hanged. Peter says he was only following the plan, which was to fire upon the ship pursuing the sloop when the agreed-upon signal was given, and, well, the governor is incensed to think that Peter might be insinuating that this is somehow the governor's fault. But Peter is quick to correct him. It was unpardonable for Peter to fire upon his ship. He'd heard that Captain Poof was cunning, but someone suggests that Captain Poof must have been informed. But Peter says that's impossible. Only he and the governor knew of the plan, and he hadn't discussed it with anyone, except Mary.
Yes, to Peter, this just got personal. Peter says that he will return with Captain Poof's head, and proposes that if he does, the governor will give him his rank back. If he doesn't, well, then he won't need the rank anyway. And the governor says that he will allow this. Peter asks where Captain Poof hides out, and the governor directs him to San Salvador, but says that Peter will have to go alone, although he'll stand by until the next day.
Peter says all he needs is clothing to blend in and a good knife, and the governor wishes him well, saying that if he's successful, which he has no reason to suspect he will be, then all will be forgiven.
The next time we see Peter, he's swimming in San Salvador Bay. He comes to shore, and we see he's wearing a sexy pirate costume from Spirit Halloween. There's so much drunken debauchery going on right now that Peter doesn't know who to talk to, but he finds one drunk willing to talk to him.
When Peter asks about Captain Poof, he's told that Captain Poof isn't one for the ladies these days, so he rarely comes ashore. But if Peter wants to find him, his ship is the place to go. On the ship, Mary is moody, and Ivan asks her what's wrong, but she blows him off again, and then heads down to her cabin where her uncle is hanging out for some reason.
Her uncle nags her for not having a man. Then he notices that Peter Goodwin has her all out of sorts, but says that she got her revenge, and then says she ought to get back to piracy on the open seas. But now Mary's fretting about what they're going to do to Peter because of her.
Mangiatrippa says that he can hardly expect a medal for sinking the governor's ship. They'll probably get a rope around his neck, and if not that, the axe.
That would be the kinder of the 2 options, so it'll probably be that one.
This does nothing to cheer Mary up. You still love him, don't you? Her uncle asks her. Good night, uncle, she says. He bids her good night and leaves.
But Peter is closer than she thinks. He swims over to Mary's ship and climbs aboard, and takes out one of the night watchmen, avoiding Mary's uncle and Ivan, who stroll past on the other side of the deck.
He makes his way down to the captain's cabin. He approaches the bunk and is surprised to find Mary in it. He knew it was her who betrayed him, but he never expected to find her sleeping in his bed. Oh, for God's sake, Peter, get out of here before they find you, she says. But Peter says he came here to kill Captain Poof, and he can't leave without doing so.
She says if he plans to kill Captain Poof, he better do it now. She straight up tells him, I am Captain Poof. How gullible do you think I am, he says.
But just let that sit there for a moment.
Mary should know he's very gullible. So, of course, he insists that she's covering for her lover. She tells him to get out, but it's too late.
She says she can't be responsible for what her men do to him if they find him. But Peter isn't buying her story. He still believes that she's covering for her lover. But just then, Ivan bursts in and, seeing Peter, closes the door just as Peter throws a knife into it. Ivan charges back in and attacks Peter to protect his captain.
And then some more men come in with guns drawn, and they take Peter away to hang him. Mary says nothing. Now we're on deck. Mary watches as the men place a noose around Peter's neck. He tells her that she wants to watch this because Peter is the only man to make her feel like what she really is, an ordinary woman. Yuck.
Mary pulls on a sword and tells her men to let Peter down and give him a sword. The seamen protest. According to their laws, this man is to be hanged. Who's the captain here? Asks Mary. So Peter is given a sword, and Mary tells him that the two will fight, and the winner will decide the fate of the other.
So they duel, and it's pretty even at first. Peter pins Mary against the stairs and tries to kiss her. That gives her fighting spirit back, and she rejoins the battle. The fight moves closer to the wheel of the ship. Peter stands on one side and Mary on the other.
When Mary thrusts her sword through the ship's wheel, Peter grabs the other end, disarming her. Peter has won. Immediately, Mary's men start to come to her aid, but Mary commands them to stand down. They had an agreement. Ivan tells Peter he's lucky their captain has forbidden them to kill him.
Then Peter pronounces Mary's fate. He's going to take her to the governor. Ivan says that there's no way they can't kill Peter, but Peter's not taking her anywhere. And then suddenly the ship's being fired upon.
The governor is commanding the man of war and is firing upon Mary's ship and at the island. People on the island run for cover as cannons on the island are loaded and fired back. Mary says they can't take on that man of war, so they must all abandon ship and go to shore. Mary is the last on board, along with Peter. He scoops her up and takes her to the edge of the ship while everything burns. Now we're on the New England. Well, Peter is tending to the unconscious Mary. The governor says he couldn't bring himself to leave it to Peter to handle this on his own. But what happened to Captain Poof, he asked. Mary wakes up and pulls on her pistol, listening, as Peter explains that he cornered and killed Captain Poof before the governor arrived. This girl was his prisoner. Mary smiles and puts away her pistol and goes back to looking unconscious.
The governor tells Peter that this girl will serve as his reward, like he can just give away people. I guess this was the late 1600s and that happened all the time. As this is happening, some of the men on the New England rescue someone else from the water. It's Mary's uncle. When Peter sees him, he pointedly calls him Count de Berry, and Mary's uncle understands what's going on here and starts behaving as a nobleman would.
And then we catch up with everyone 6 months later at Lord Goodwin's palace. Women are gathered around Peter, asking him to tell again the story of how he killed Captain Poof, but he sends them over to Uncle Count de Berry Mangiatrippa, who has his own version of the tale.
Then Peter rescues his wife from a duke, who tells her that if all the women in the colonies are like her, everyone there would abandon dull old England. Mary says nothing. Once Peter has her alone, he tells her that all this enthusiasm for his wife could become dangerous. He threatens to tell everyone that she's Captain Poof. She correctly asserts that no one would believe him. To them, she'll always be the little girl he rescued. And then they kiss.
And Mary lives somewhat happily ever after in a life she never wanted or deserved.
And that's the end.
You are listening to the American International Podcast, and we're discussing Queen of the Seas from 1964.
Queen of the Seas is set in the golden age of piracy, which extended from about 1650 to the 1720s. It tells the story of real-life female pirate Mary Read, who, according to Captain Charles Johnson in his 1724 book, A General History of the Pirates, was born in England around 1695 to an unmarried woman who dressed Mary as a boy for much of her childhood. Britannica Online says that this history is highly disputed, however. After Mary's mother died, Mary continued to pass as a boy and worked as a servant before traveling to Flanders to join the military. Later she found work as a sailor and sailed to the West Indies. She willingly or by force joined the crew of the pirate John Rackham after Mary's ship was captured, and this happened perhaps around 1717. There was already one other woman on board, Rackham's lover, Anne Bonny. While Bonny only disguised herself as a man during battles, Mary kept up the disguise all the time.
Reed, Bonny, and the rest of Rackham's crew were captured in 1720, 2 months after commandeering the sloop William from Nassau Harbor on New Providence Island. The male crew members were all convicted and hanged. Reed and Bonny each claimed to be pregnant and remained in prison. Mary died there, but Bonny was eventually released.
Queen of the Seas was director Umberto Lenzi's first film released to theaters. The film he made prior to Queen of the Seas went unreleased. In the 1960s, he made films about heroic figures like Robin Hood and Sandakan, a pirate who sailed the South China Sea. He also did a number of spy films in the 60s before pivoting into giallo in the 70s and cannibal films in the 70s and 80s. He also made cop dramas until the end of his career. According to author Roberto Curti in his Italian crime filmography, published in 2013, Lenzi was, quote, one of the undisputed leading figures in Italian genre cinema. Lenzi died in 2017.
Lisa Gastoni, who played Mary, was named Best Italian Actress of the Year 1966, as she received both the Nastro d'Argento Award and the Golden Globe Award from Italy's Foreign Press Association. She started acting in B-movies in the 1950s, mostly crime dramas, before appearing in action-adventure films like Passport to China and The Four Musketeers, and of course playing the lead in Queen of the Seas. She also appeared in some peplum films and erotic dramas, and appeared in Gidget Goes to Rome in 1963.
Jerome Courtland, who played Peter, was born in Knoxville, Tennessee. He He met director Charles Vidor at a Hollywood party when he was 17. That led to a screen test at Columbia Pictures, which gave him a 7-year contract. His first film was a 1944 screwball comedy, Together Again. He starred in more than a dozen films, appeared in a Broadway musical, and had some success in television. He was a licensed pilot, trained in stunt flying, and sang the title song during the opening of the movie Old Yeller. He stopped acting to become a producer-director and co-produced the 1977 Disney film Pete's Dragon. As a director, he has helmed episodes of Aaron Spelling's shows like Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Dynasty, and its spin-off The Colbys. He made a few guest TV appearances in the 1990s on shows like Knots Landing and LA Law before moving to Chicago to teach acting and directing at Columbia College. He died in 2012.
More Stuff in the Toronto Star interviewed actor Lloyd Bachner for an article published in June of 1961. In it, he wrote that Bachner was headed to Italy to star in The Adventures of Mary Read, but Bachner does not appear in the role of Peter Goodwin, as the article indicated. The film was to be shot in Italy and Yugoslavia, according to Duff.
John K. Noonan in the Norwich English News wrote in November of 1961 that Lisa Gastoni contacted him to tell him that she just got done shooting Queen of Seas in Rome and was heading to Yugoslavia to shoot a different film. So maybe they didn't shoot it in Yugoslavia. It was really hard to find any information about the making of this movie. There were just crumbs available.
Queen of the Seas was released theatrically in Italy as L'Avventure de Mary Read in December of 1961. A re-edited version of the film, titled Hell Below Deck, was released in the UK in 1964 as a second feature on a double billing with Scorching Sands. As L'Adventure de Mary Read, the movie was released in New Jersey in 1964.
That was a very limited release. AITV released Queen of the Seas as part of their Epicolor 64 and New Color Adventures packages. The film first aired on television in the United States in August of 1964.
According to Rob Craig's AIP filmography, it is believed the only extant English-language print of the film appears to be a 16mm laboratory answer print, as each shot in the film is numbered on screen, and the opening credits sequence is silent before music was added for its release. The film, later released to home video by Something Weird, consists of 200 separate shots spliced together. Taglines for Queen of the Seas include, The Startling Adventure of Mary Read, the woman who plundered the Buccaneer's treasure.
Temptress of the Seas.
The only woman pirate to sail the Spanish Main.
She plundered men's hearts, and she pirated their gold.
Monthly Film Bulletin reviewed the 62-minute release of Hell Below Deck and called it a spiritless pirate melodrama with poorly photographed settings and said the swordplay, intrigues, and love scenes are all equally uninteresting.
The whole Daily Mail called Hell Below Deck, quote, an amusing and romantic story of a girl thief's career as a pirate in the 17th century. Lisa Gastoni is the beauty who breaks new ground as the captain of a band of seagoing robbers.
Queen of the Seas purports to be the story of Mary Read, who is a real historical character, but it doesn't seem to really follow her story much at all.
No, and that's a shame because her story is a lot more interesting than what we got on the screen.
How so?
Well, for one thing, there were 2 lady pirates, not just one. Some of the details are similar. So when Captain Poof's ship was captured by the Spanish ship, that they could have written it as John Rackham's ship capturing the sailing ship that Mary was on, and then Mary joins this captain and becomes a pirate that way. Where instead, she kind of starts off as a pirate, but just a pirate for England. And there's no second female pirate, which I guess would have been really difficult to sell to a movie studio.
Was there any indication that she brought her uncle along with her on all those voyages?
No. So that, yeah, we didn't need the uncle. He's so annoying. I don't know who dubbed his voice, but it sounds like a cartoon character.
And he's obviously there just for comic relief. And like most comic relief in these films, it's not funny. I don't think it's dated. I think it just never was that funny.
No, I can't see how this would be amusing in any way. He's always babbling about this or that, and he's a coward and a drunk and whatever. What I don't understand, and what I don't think I could ever possibly understand, is why they named our original pirate captain Captain Poof. Of all the names they could have picked, of all the nouns in the English language that they could have picked, Poof?
It's Poof.
Poof? Poof? Whatever. It's not very fearsome. Would you be afraid of anyone who calls himself Poof or Poof? I wouldn't be afraid of anything called Poof.
Well, he's not really presented as being that scary. He's wearing this bright red outfit, which works really well when Mary's wearing the same outfit.
She had it tailored. People are supposed to be afraid of this captain.
I don't think that they were afraid of the original Captain Poof. I think it was the reputation that Mary presented after she took over the role that people feared.
She was trying to make her reputation using that very unfearsome name. That's what I don't understand.
Well, I think that if you can manage to create fear with a name like Poof, then you've really got something.
Okay.
Like calling your jelly branch Smuckers. With a name like Smuckers, it's got to be good.
Because it should be embarrassing? Is that what the implication
Remember
is?
the old Saturday Night Live sketch The name like Painful Rectal Itch. It's got to be a good jam.
Oh, God. I didn't see that one. There's a much more interesting pirate story here, and yet we are constantly drawn into this tepid love affair that is not interesting at all and is frankly insulting, especially at the end.
It doesn't seem true to the character, or maybe you just don't want it to be true to the character, because it is kind of annoying that she would have an adventurous life and give it all up for somebody as smarmy as Peter Goodwin.
Yeah, why would she be afraid of being imprisoned? She got out the last time, and Peter is a jerk.
He's an idiot.
He's a cad. He didn't recognize her.
Not only did he not recognize her, he can't even tell that she's not a man at the beginning.
He spent the night with her in no 5 o'clock shadow, but he's a giant. Compared to him, she's tiny, she's slender, she's very feminine looking. They don't make any attempt to hide the fact that she has breasts. She's got like a fitted outfit on when he first meets her in the jail that does not flatten her bosom at all.
Yeah, it's that outfit that she stole from the guy in the barn. And I didn't notice much of a bosom on him, but you could clearly see it on Mary.
She didn't get rid of her shapewear. This movie is kind of ridiculous. And so I think they're just leaving too much on the table here that could make this a really good movie.
I think it's still an okay movie. I just think that if you're going to use a real historical character and make it so lame, that it's a big mistake.
Especially since the details that we do know about Mary Read are so sketchy that they could have taken the bare bones of her life story and done anything with it. And instead, they're just turning into this really conventional boy meets girl story that ends so badly for Mary.
It wouldn't be so bad if Peter Goodwin wasn't so obnoxiously annoying.
If he was more dashing, daring, if he had more personality, more charm, but he's just a cad and a bounder.
His personality is going after women.
And he's dumb. Dumb as a bag of hammers.
Everybody in this movie is pretty dumb.
Well, that's true. But he's the male hero, and yet he's an idiot.
Yeah, it's hard to get behind their relationship when we see how stupid Peter Goodwin actually is.
I mean, I guess he's adequately attractive, but he's got a dopey face and a stupid mustache.
Well, unfortunately, knowing now that he's saying the theme to Old Yeller, it's kind of ruined that song for me. Because I always pictured Fess Parker, and now I had to picture Jerome Courtland.
Well, I'm sure Jerome Courtland was a good enough guy, but Peter Goodwin was not a great character. There seems to be this sort of grade school romance going on between the two of them. She took my medallion. I gave it back. She took it again. They could have made it more passionate and sexy. They didn't even do that.
I don't think that was necessary since half the time he doesn't even know who he's talking to when he's talking to her.
All she has to do is change clothes and he forgets who she is. Must be really awkward at home. So I don't see how she could ever be satisfied with the life of balls and entertaining and whatever else you do when you're a lady. It sounds so desperately dull.
I don't know. Do you become a pirate because you want to steal and make yourself rich? Or do you do it for the adventure? Probably a mixture of the two. She's going to have the money, but she's going to give up the adventure.
I don't think you do it so that you can meet your future husband. Pretty sure that's not why anybody does it.
Well, she met him in prison, so.
The ultimate meet cute.
The fact that they got along so well in prison in the beginning is kind of amusing, though. I think it's just because when Peter realizes that he's in there with a woman, this might be a good way to pass the time while he's waiting for his release, because he knows he's going to get out.
He can just play with her affections for a while, as he always does.
Yeah.
Get a little nookie.
Well, I think we both had issues with the film, but how are we going to rate this? You go first, using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic.
Well, this movie is fine. It's an okay movie. The pirate parts of it are pretty good. I would have liked to have had more of them, though. She's the queen of the seas, not the queen of the drawing room. And yet we seem to spend half of our time there. Whether we're in Florida or in England, there's too many dancing balls in this movie and not enough cannonballs. But I like the idea of it. I just wish they had done a better job with Mary's story and they'd come up with a different ending than domestic so-called bliss. I'm going to give this an I. I don't think it's a bad movie at all, but I certainly can't give it an A. What do you think?
Well, I think the thing that really hurts this movie the most is that it is based on the real Mary Read, but does her a real disservice in the story. And you're right, more pirating would have been a lot more fun to watch. Every time we went back to England and they're just dancing in the ballroom or something, it was like, oh, here we go again. Because I like how easily Mary assumed the role of captain. She says, I'm taking over the ship, and all the men say, okay, and they're happy to carry out her orders. So a lot more of that would have been more interesting to see. And if the movie was just that, it would still be hurt by the ending. If it wasn't based on a real story, and it was just a story of a woman pirate who falls for the son of a lord, and then they're given the happy ending that movies have to give people. They find each other, they go together, they live together forever and ever. And it really wasn't true to Mary's character, at least from my perspective. And I really can't see Peter Goodwin settling down either.
Oh, no.
So yeah, you're right. This movie is not an A movie and has all those things going against it, but it's still an entertaining watch, at least until the end when it kind of becomes a groaner. So I'm going to give it an I as well.
I think Lisa Gastoni is really good in this.
Oh, she is.
I think she could have done so much more if they had just given it to her. If you, like us, are interested in treasure and adventure, you should pay a visit to our website at aippod.com. You won't find doubloons, but we do have something truly golden. Our entire library of episodes dating back over 3 years. You can also explore our social media links or reach out to us using the site's contact form. We'd love to hear what movie you're most looking forward to us reviewing, hear your comments on something we've said, or anything else you'd like to tell us. Maybe you can help us find some AIP movies missing from our library. Check out the list of what we're looking for on our site. And while you're there, go on an adventure by paging through our ever-expanding database of the entire American International Pictures catalog, which we are adding to every week. We have lobby cards, posters, trailers, and other advertising materials on display, and you can see where to watch the films we cover. While you're on our site, consider plundering our store by purchasing one of our items. You can get some cool gear and help keep the podcast coming to you until we've run out of AIP films. And once again, that can all be found at aippod.com.
So as we pull up to the dock, we'd like to thank you for sailing with American International Podcast. I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in. Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.